the Redeemer of the righteous, here to exalt the sons of righteousness back to their rightful place and to put this tyranny down once and for all. So before we allow these people to send our children off to war, stop. Before we allow these tyrants to send our children off to war, stop. Call them home. Call them all home. They don't have to fight for these people. They don't owe them nothing. Nobody is entitled to have your child die for them but you. And that's at you and your child's honor of a family that you do that. You don't do that for the honor of a tyrant, of somebody that want to suck the blood out of you and your family. You don't send your children to die for that. That's wrong. It's unjust. And it must be fixed and corrected. When you commission warriors to go to war, you commission them under the code of righteousness to perform a righteous deed to get rid of wickedness. Anybody want to send your child to war just to send them to war so they can get some money is a damn fool and an evil tyrant and need to be overthrown. So, what do, people? Do we finally say get rid of the evil? Or do we say bring more of it on down? Because if you don't want to get rid of it, the only thing left is all out chaos. Because order has to be established from the chaos. The level of chaos now can be peacefully resolved. But if we don't peacefully resolve it now, it has to be intensified so it can be violently resolved. Mama said to give most people the opportunity as possible for liberation. This is the opportunity. Call your children home, tell them don't fight no wars. Don't join nobody military if it ain't part of your family. And our families and our tribes, they call us gangs. They call us gangs and villainize us and tyrants, and they call us terrorists. They're wrong. So for the Middle East to be straightened out, they need to reform the caliphate. Because they need somebody to speak for the Muslims across all barriers. My nomination for those in the Middle East would be, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to allow them to assemble their own council and put their own leadership in place. You have to have a caliphate in Islam. That's the order. That's the structure, and it's the correct order. In the meantime, in Islam, all male Muslims must protect these females now. Stop letting these tyrants come in like they righteous and take your daughters. Don't feed this beast your children. All Islamic countries need to cease with the slave trade and shit, because the tyrant used the righteousness of Allah when they changed her name to Allah, so that y'all didn't know that the Queen of Heaven was y'all guardian and y'all overseer. Y'all have a picture, y'all have a symbol of her yoni on your black stone. Your black stone is me. I'm the stone the builders rejected. How do I know this? Earlier I spoke about the Mufti, Angel Bay, founder of the 21 Brick Pyramid. But they say 20 more because one of the bricks ain't there no more. From that brick, there was a name on it, Larry Hoover. And under Larry Hoover, I came about. I came about by strange circumstances. My mother was a queen of the Vice Lords when they were a biker gang in the 50s. My children are all stones in Chicago. I'm stuck in the middle. I can't fight with nobody. Everybody love me, and I love them, so I can't fight with nobody. I can't condone Vice Lords going against GDs because that would be like me going against my mother. I can't condone the GDs fighting against the Stones because that's like me fighting my children. What insanity? I'm not with that insanity. It extends all the way out to the West Coast because you know we got Hoover Crips. I'm rolling 60s. Do the math. Stoop, tell him, do the math for him. Put it on public display. Anybody confused about this, it's going to be clear real soon what I'm talking about. Analyze what I'm saying. Don't just accept it. Don't just accept nothing I'm telling you. Analyze it. Go do your research. Send your preacher back to school because they're all teaching you wrong. Matter of fact, don't send him to school. Send him to Geno Jenkins over there. He going to get him right. He going to teach him how to research according to righteousness. But first, the fruit got to correct where he was wrong at. He righteous, but he ain't right. They know what I'm talking about, fruit, right? He righteous, but he ain't right. And he'll give you the stage. So, we need to get back into the harmony of life, and the melody of life, and the beautification of those things around us with art and entertainment. You know, I love music. And I love music across all genres. And one of my favorite artists, Tupac Amaru Shakur, my brother. I miss that rider music, man. I miss that. And so I decided to write something for myself, and I'm gonna go record it and put it out there for y'all so y'all can understand what I'm talking about. But we need that rider music because they took our war drum. They took our war drum because they didn't want us talking on the drum. But what Bougie say? Through that mystical communication within, we keep on coming together. I love to see when brothers and sisters looking out for one another. This is the redemption song. This is the Exodus that Marley speak of. Now, I can get long-winded, but I'm not. Because I don't want to give y'all so much information you refuse to look anything up. It's over. Their reign is up. The reign of terror on earth is over as long as the people want it over. If you don't believe me, ask Trump, ask Putin, and all the other heads of state on this planet. They all know what I'm talking about. I don't have to prove anything. I already proved it when I broke the code of the ages. When I cracked the curse, I shattered the chains of hell, because that's where we were. Hueco Mundo. Watch soap. Call me Ichigo. So, I'm going to let y'all digest what I just said. We can fall victim to the tyrant, or we can take our ball and go home. Start doing family stuff. Act like he ain't even here. Act like they ain't even here. But if they get unruly, and we have to do it the hard way, we prepared for that too. And this is a message for all law enforcement. If you don't know how to deal with people, drop your badge. I don't care where. If you don't know how to communicate with people, drop your badge. If you scared to be a policeman, drop your badge. There won't be no more policemen coming up. We're going to have all Sharif. As soon as I go get my Angel Bay, he will be telling all Sharif Sharia law in detail, and they will enforce it correctly. And they're not going to be tyrannically abusing people. See, they had y'all thinking that only black people getting shot down in the streets. That's not true. That's not true. They shoot more white people. But in America, it's more white people than black people. Well, it's now starting to level out where we have an unstable census report. But we're gonna be done with this. It's over. And I'm not playing. And I've already been verified and confirmed. I'm not joking. And this is not a game. Take your ball, go home. Mothers, call your children from that military. I don't care if you're in Lithuania, Czechoslovakia, China, Korea, Japan, France, Italy, England, Canada, the United States, Mexico, South America, anywhere. Call your children home. We ain't fighting for these animals. We not finna be killing ourselves like this. Not on my watch. This is my watch. So I'm going to put the message out there, and I'm going to let them spread it on their own. But it's time to take this home. It's time for us to reclaim what's rightfully ours by the code of righteousness with dignity and respect and with honor. And that our sons be able to shine your light. Shine. We can all shine now. Ain't no more division. We all got the right to shine now. Let us all shine. So I ain't gonna keep y'all tied up. I just had to get something off my chest. I got some business I gotta go take care of. And somewhere, somebody real important I need to see, but I can't quite figure out where she at. My son's gonna come get me and take me to her, so I'm not worried about it. But this message had to be put on the wire. Given the opportunity to go viral, be spread. But I got a feeling where it's gonna play at. Let it play. I wants to go get rid of the beast once and for all. But I don't want to do nothing that people don't want. So if y'all don't want freedom, I don't want to bring it. But if y'all want freedom, I will bring freedom. I will bring liberation. But if don't nobody want freedom, love, and liberation, I can also bring hell and destruction. I have full command of the armies of heaven and hell. I can cause some shit you don't even know exists. I would rather not do that, because that's not what I'm here for. I was asked to be as patient and wise as possible in establishing a peaceful regime on earth again, because it was like this under the Atlanteans, in which I was the chief priest of the Atlant. It's hard to get all of this energy rewired back through the divergent, convergent synthesis process. I needed a whole lot of priests over a long time. So you see, that's why they were in caves, because they had to pass this energy and do these rituals in order to make sure that we can break this demon's stronghold. And I was the only one capable of doing it. And so they figured that if they got rid of me and kept me from coming to help you, they can hold y'all in hostages and slaves forever. But they forgot I never fail. I never lose. Even when they think I lose, I'm still winning, because the only way that they was able to get me to lose is self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice is the highest form of honor and dignity in the existence of creation. Yeah, a whole lot of people done it following my lead. Put themselves in adverse situations and try to survive it. If they didn't, then they already knew what would happen, as in Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers. And I can go on with that for hours. So I'm not going to do a roll call on the ancestors that fell. But what I will tell y'all is this. Keep your heads up. Look forward to the future. Without the tyrant's reign. I'm going to get him out of here one way or the other. Y'all can help me by taking y'all ball and going home all over the planet. Or y'all can just sit back and don't do nothing and don't say nothing. And I can call some shit y'all going to be totally flabbergasted about. And if you think I'm joking, just look overhead and be surprised at what you see. I am not joking. This is not a game. And with that, Trump, it's your turn. You up. So it's 5:35. That's 13 on the Queen Mother Seal, which is the mother of the king, a blue house knot. So this is going to be short, and so I'm going to give the people a chance to get in here.
So, and see, this is about the Larry Hoover Compassionate Release Review. And so I need whoever in here that's capable to share this information, because we need to get Lil Larry informed on what the lawyer for Larry Hoover need to know. So the judge keep asking in Larry's case, how many murders is Larry responsible for? And he's asking this in sarcasm because of how the compassionate release case is being presented. Because what nobody's mentioning that's critical to the freedom of Larry Hoover is the fact that his leadership skills was so influential to the people that it was the ones who we call growth and development now, that was formerly Gangster Disciples. Larry was holding his position under duress. Nobody's bringing this up in none of his legal proceedings, the duress factor. We keep forgetting, the ones that don't know the history of the nation of growth and development. We keep forgetting that Larry was on the list of potential leaders that needed to be neutralized under COINTELPRO. The judge would have to request the Larry Hoover COINTELPRO file, but nobody's going to touch that because they don't want the people to know that the government was actively trying to usurp any potential leaders in our community. So we can't use the COINTELPRO operations that got Larry initially removed from the street. The judge will have to expose too much. But what we can use is the fact that Larry tried to step away from the Disciple Nation way back in 1972 or 73 in Stateville. The story is told by Don Durkee, who is the historian who was there during these events. So the duress comes in as the viable defense, because you first have to understand, why did they want to force Larry under the threat of death to run the Disciple Nation? Because he was a good man. They figure if you put the good man out front, it will attract the other children that are good boys that's going to become good men, and they will be able to use him as the figurehead leadership, right? So Larry can testify to this. Don Durkee can testify to this. And there's a list of several other people that's still alive that can testify to Larry being told that if he stepped down from being the king of the Disciple Nation, he was going to get murdered. His life is in jeopardy. He's in prison, and there's nothing the government can do to protect him from the people that say that if you don't wear this crown, Larry, you dead. You're going to die. We're going to murder you right here in the penitentiary. Now, he has no choice, right? So the question is not how many deaths is Larry responsible for. How many lives have this man saved? Right? This is a more viable question. How many lives did Larry Hoover save? I'm one. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for the literature and the sanctioning of us to study the literature by Larry Hoover. And I would be bugged out and tore up a whole lot of shit and been to war with the police a long time ago if it wasn't for Larry Hoover telling us it's an educational thing that you have to educate yourself out of. He said we brain banging, not gang banging. It's too many of these young black males in the street fighting each other, being turned against each other for no good reason for somebody's financial gain other than the people that's being pitted against each other. So the judge has not been told that way back in 72, 73, Larry was trying to be disassociated from the Disciple Nations, and the Disciple Nation told him, if you step down, we killing you. So now, instead of anybody telling this part of the truth, it's being silent, and there's no way the man can't defend himself. He can't defend himself. He's in the catch-22. Nobody's telling the judge, hey, look, that man tried to get away from them characters way back in the day when he was very young youth. Y'all been kept him in prison all of this time, and he was forced to hold the position with his life literally on the line. You can go back and pull his medical history and find out that Larry got stabbed in F1 in Division 1 in the county jail. So how in the hell can he expect the government to protect him in prison when they couldn't protect him in the county jail? Now, the lawyer not being told this is going to be rendered ineffective in his bid for the compassionate release. So Larry gave a letter up about a year ago explaining that he's trying to get away from these characters, and he can't get away from them in prison because in prison he's under the threat of death by other inmates if he was to step away from the Disciple Nation. This makes him being forced to be in prison for being determined to stay alive. That should never be an option where if I don't run this show, I'm going to be dead, but if I do, the government is going to wreak the tyranny of their judicial system on me for being forced into a position that I had no say in whether I accept or not. It's called the duress defense. So the lawyer in Larry's case need to hear the video that I'm going to put in the comments when I post this on Facebook of Don Durkee, the historian of the Disciple Nation, right, who is telling the story about how when Larry tried to step away from the disciples back when he was a kid. He was 21 years old, something like that. He's a baby. He's a kid. He tried to step away. They threatened to murder him. You will not make it out of prison unless you run this. So now when you see the 21st century vote in the changing of the direction from gangster disciple to growth and development, the question is not how many deaths is Larry responsible for, but how many people did he personally send to college, to university, to become doctors and lawyers and scientists and other people with good standing in the community, and how many people did he help them with their athletic career by putting a don't touch them order on this child that's trying to do what's right. None of them is talking about that. 47, 74, GD flip. So the lawyer in Larry's case, so all of the people who know Lil Larry, send this to his inbox on Instagram, overrun his inbox with this video so he can get the correct information to the attorney to correctly argue Larry's case. If he's not telling them about the duress and how his life was threatened in prison, if he don't run this, there's nothing he can do. So you can't make him become the fall guy, the patsy, when he was forced into the position under the threat of death. If the judge doesn't know that, he don't know what Larry is really going through as a man being held responsible for a group of bad people that was masquerading as kinfolk. And that they was the ones who threatened to kill him if he didn't hold the leadership banner, because he was known in his community as being a good man and a good kid growing up. He was a good young man. And because of this, because they knew that he's not going to say, just go kill everybody, because he's a good man, he's going to try to find a way to survive. First of all, for self-preservation is the very first law of nature. The second law of nature is the preservation of your species and kind through procreation, right? And self-sacrifice. If you understand what Larry going through, being forced to run, he has to minimize the damage that these people that's using him as leader, using his image and taking advantage of his good, kind-hearted nature and forcing him to run a organization. He has to try to take the power from the wicked and do the best good he can under the conditions that he's given. So he did the best good that he can. He wasn't on the streets to control whether the drugs come into the community or not. Before the drug trade became so monumental, he was already locked up. Before there was a Ricky Ross, Larry was locked up. Before there was a El Chapo, Larry was locked up. You can't hold him responsible when he's already trying to get away from these people and they threatening to kill him if he do. And he's in the condition, position, and under circumstances that he has zero control of whether this officer gonna let the assassin in this cell while he sleep at night. So part of the mission that he have to do is to protect himself, because he want to come home and be with his family. He can't do that if he have to get killed for stepping down as the chairman of the Disciple Nation. Right? So I don't want this to be too long, so I'm going to end it here. But remember, Larry Ben tried to get away. They held him in a leadership position because he was known to be a good man, and that he would be instrumental in the brokering the peace if we ever figure out what was that was forcing him to do something that he never wanted to do. Now that we know what's going on the land and we no longer deceive, somebody got to tell the truth to the judge, because the judge got Larry's life in his hands and he's only looking at the deaths. He's not looking at Larry's life is being saved, right, by him not stepping down from the Disciple Nation during this prison bit, because it's recorded already. So I'm going to put the Don Durkee clip in the comments once this is posted, so y'all can come back and see what I'm talking about. And I'm also going to post in the comments a copy of the duress doctrine of law. When the fraud is discovered, the only remedy is called abandonment of the fraud by walking away from anything that got to do with the fraud. The duress defense is you kidnap somebody and you tell their father you're going to go rob this bank or I'm going to kill your child. He going to rob that bank, but he don't want to rob the bank. He's not a bank robber at heart. Larry is not a criminal at heart. He is a beautiful person with a good character, and they use his beautiful disposition and good character to force him to be under the spotlight and in prison all this time against his will. So if we talking about a justice system that's about justice, which we know they not, but if you just want somebody to do right about somebody one time, right? Just do right by the man. He gave y'all his whole life, right? With the hopes of one day being able to sit down and his grandchildren asking him about what happened to him. Where he can use all of this stuff he's been through to steer the children in the right direction, but they don't want that because they want us all to go down in flames as tyrants and terrible people, when the tyrants and terrible people is actually the ones that's masquerading as our government. They don't got nothing to do with us. They're occupying foreign military force, giving you the illusion that they belong here and that they in a rightful position, and they the frauds the whole time, right? So, remember, share it to Lil Larry, inbox him if you got his Instagram, inbox this video to him, because we tired of seeing good people persecuted for being good people. It's time for somebody to say, okay, a good man has been held responsible for the tyranny of wicked, and all we have to do is what's right, and let that man go play with his grandbabies, let him breathe free air, let him out of that 29-hour a day lockdown BS, and just do what's right by somebody for a change. And if you do what's right, then you're going to be rewarded with the righteousness of heaven. But if you keep persecuting these people, enough is enough. Some of us is going to tell you enough is enough, and then you're going to have rogue actors frustrated with the condition that you will not be able to control unless you can show some semblance of justice. Something has to look like somebody is somewhere trying to do something right for a change. We know about all of the government assassinations of our leadership, but we're not worried about that right now. Right now, the government, these frauds, have the opportunity to do what's right by somebody that was done wrong a long time ago and has been persecuted for being done wrong a long time ago to this day, right? The abandonment defense is not applicable when you're performing under duress. Ask the attorney to let the judge know about the duress aspect. Once he understands that Larry been tried to get away from that, and that all of the dirt that these people has heaped up on his name had nothing to do with him. That was individuals acting on their own behalf, doing their own dirt, as I done my own dirt before I started learning the growth and development literature. This is what stopped me from being a tyrant in my own community, because I ain't got no problem lumping somebody up, putting something in them. But Larry said, no, brother, you don't have to do that. You have to go and learn. You have to outlearn everybody. You have to educate yourself higher than everybody else. Them was the instructions that I got back. He said, don't use your time to learn how to be a better killer. Use your time to learn how to be a community healer. You can't be a community healer unless you're standing on the truth. And the truth of the matter is, the man was forced to hold the position during the whole time he was in prison, and you want to continuously hold him in prison for being forced to do something that he already said he didn't want to do. And with that, no code drop on the outs. Get the message to Lil Larry so he can know how to discuss this correctly with the attorney, because he need to know what to do. And the fact that I'm putting it in the public domain It's notice to agent is notice to principal. And if the claim is valid, Larry's supposed to be coming home. Unless you deliberately want to let us know that you're part of the continuation of the oppression of the tribal nations and that the tribes need to readjust and move in a different way to get you motherfuckers off our back. But if you can do something right for a change, do something right. So with that, peace out, family. I'm gonna be going now to get the receipt, so I'll talk to y'all later, and I'll probably do a Q&A later on tonight right here. So anybody about 8, 9 o'clock tonight, no, about 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I'll be on here to do an open Q&A concerning this issue that I'm discussing now, how the duress defense work and all that. I will be here to do another live later, but this one I wanted to keep it cut short because I can get long-winded. So catch me later for the Q&A.
Right.
Right. None of the treaties have any of the tribal names on them of people from the tribes. They have European names on both sides of the treaty, so they had nothing to do with the non-treaty tribes, right? So we had to go through all of the non-treaty tribes reorganizing and reconstituting, being villainized by the corporation that was occupying the territory. They want us to believe that everybody came out of Africa, but that's not the correct story. Everybody came out of the Mississippi Delta would be more accurate. But everywhere on the planet, there is what they call a Delta region. In China, it's at the base of the Yellow River. In India, it's at the base of the Ganges. In South America, it's the base of the Amazon. In continental Africa, that's not how the Nile used to run. It used to drain in the desert, the Sahara. But through engineering projects, it was rerouted to drain into the Mediterranean to cover the crater. So the Delta region in Africa is known as the Congo. The Congo is the region that's the homeland to the gorilla, the primate, right? So in the course of human evolution, we program the genetics to do different stuff and make different kinds of people. So these regions is where the different tribes emerged from back during ancient, even before Atlantis. They were all matrilineal back then, parthogenic reproductive process. It was in Atlantis where the male gender was incorporated into the human genome. And it was in Atlantis that the conclusion was drawn at the beginning so that we would know how to unravel the mystery. All of these mysteries have us confusing about the genetic stocks of the human family. We got different bloodlines from different family lineages. America is called the Great Melding Pot or God's Crucible, and people from all over the world have always came to these lands to tie into the vine. Remember Pop's talking about that, tying into the vine, right?
Right. And
Because, right. So now you need a drop of blood. The drop of blood doctrine is the reference point. Understand what it is. Because if you ain't got a drop of tribal blood, you ain't from a tribe. So now they got people just saying they 132nd, they 555ths, you know, all these different extended, because they trying to tell you that they came and they got a drop of blood. By hook or by crook, they did it. So this give everybody the equal right to ascend, because if you don't have the earth drop of earth blood of the earth born, when the earth send out this pulse, it's going to turn off your genetics because it don't belong here. So anything that was created in the or altered in the laboratory is what's been bred back into the genetic stocks of the earthborn in order to have everybody have a rights of ascension, right? So when we talking about, I was getting this message last week, and it sounded like Elijah Muhammad, and he kept asking me the same question over and over. Who is the Asiatic black man, right? And I kept giving him the answer that the enrollment lessons say: the original man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, right? So he said, okay, now you gave me the answer from the student enrollment. So who is the Asiatic black man? So I recited again: the original man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, right? He said, okay, I want you to think on that for a while. So I'm thinking on the genetic groupings of the Roman Empire, whose jurisdictional authority and educational processes that we've been following. So who is Asia etymologically, right? Them was the ones I sent you, and I said we could start here.
I
So
got you, Rob.
while I was getting these downloads on the Asiatic black man in a voice that sounded like Elijah Muhammad, I was trying to figure out the means to put the information out on what platform and how I was going to do it. And the answer came back to go back to Young Elder Show, right? And then the next day, you hollered at me. So when you realize that Asia is a term in reference to a body of land that was east, right, of Rome, right? So we be looking at this, say the origin of the name Asia is debated. That means that they don't have a comprehensive agreement on where the word Asia came from. But some possible explanations include the Assyrian word Asu, which
Mm-hmm.
means east, the
Mm-hmm.
Asian root Asis, which means muddy or silty, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of that don't make sense right now for it to be accurate. Hittite word Asua, right, which is a derivative from an Egyptian dialect, because you could tell by the way that the word is written.
Mm-hmm.
And originally used to refer to the part of northwest Anatolia. Now, Anatolia is the area around Turkey and Uzbekistan, up there in that part of the um, the continent of Eurasia,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now in the geography, the term Asia is anything that's east of Anatolia, which is today Turkey.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And it's an Anatolian region, extends down into some of your Arab countries,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it's a local name for the plains of Ephesus. The name may have originated in a local name for the plains of Ephesus, which was later expanded to refer to Anatolia in the lands east of the Mediterranean Sea. So now the Mediterranean Sea is the point of reference,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's east of the Mediterranean Sea. The
Mm-hmm.
Greek term used to describe the lands east of their homeland. The term was later adopted by the Romans. So now we're talking Greco-Roman rule in determining the course, um, of events,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the term Asia was primarily used to highlight the difference between Europe and Asia rather than emphasize any unifying identifying among Asians. In other words, it wasn't to group the people together, it was to separate the land.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, the first thing that you have to do if you want to govern the land is you have to assign what they call lines of demarcation. You
Mm-hmm.
got to have a line in the sand. Where's your territory and where's my territory?
Right.
So the term Asia is in reference to all of the people that live east of the Anatolia, right?
Okay.
So now this is where the Romans and the Greeks are Etruscans, and they fighting long drawn out wars with the people of the Anatolians, which was the Turks, and the Barbary, which was the ones, I think Barbary was west of Rome.
The Ottoman Empire, right? Is it the Ottoman, the Ottoman Empire? The
The
Ottoman?
Ottoman Empire rose up on top of them.
Okay. Okay.
The Anatolians are the ancient stock of people that was there when all of this took flight. But over time, they became amalgamated with outside people, just like everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we look at the average Chinese, Japanese, or Korean today, we look at the ones they show us on TV with the pale skin because those are what they call the whitewash renditions. Those are the ones who, the same way that you have pale face over here, they show them as